Hi YouTube viewers, this is a review of the Safariland Holster 6355 ALS. It's a tactical thigh holster. This particular one is in STX Foliage Green. I wanted to kind of show this tactical thigh holster online, give a detailed review. I know I've personally had some problems from an information standpoint coming into me about what different ways that you can configure some of the Safariland holster products. I want to provide this to you so that maybe you can learn something and not have to purchase as many things as I did to figure out what you're looking to get. But essentially, the 6355 thigh holster is different in that I was looking for a holster that did not have the Blackhawk Serpa type of location for releasing your finger. In this particular case, it uses still a hard plastic shell, but the release mechanism is here with your thumb, and I'll demonstrate that here with a SIG pistol. SIG, one of my 228s, there's no magazine in it. It's unloaded for all you safety trolls out there. You probably can't see that very well, but it is unloaded. Anyways, so let me just show you how this goes into the holster. So this, typically, most holsters drop right in. You'll actually hear it click. And then it locks into place, and then it doesn't come out. The only way you can release it, see if I can't show this really well in the video, is this does not pull free from the holster unless your thumb, which comes in here, depresses this and pulls down, and then it ultimately releases that. What's happening on the inside of the holster is it's actually catching the front lip of the slide, and it does that for a couple different models, and I'll show that a little bit later. But essentially this is clipping in there. When I originally bought the holster, it also came with a thumb shroud. So there was this piece that I removed. I didn't particularly care for it, but some departments may require it. And they've got some different mounting configurations on the holster itself. And essentially, you might be able to see right in here, they had some places where this would be mounted like this. And essentially that both protects and guides your thumb when it's coming in to grab the pistol, so that you can come in to press and then withdraw the pistol, is what that's for. Now I removed it. I didn't find it very useful for what I was looking for, but now I have an unobstructed quick draw, and unless you know exactly how to draw the pistol, and that when you come down and then you're using your thumb to actuate the section like that, it actually works very well. Now, I wasn't just looking for a thigh holster that I could mount. As you can probably see here, hopefully that camera's going to capture this down in here where it was right on my thigh. I was looking for something to be able to clear my vest that dropped it low enough to get it out of the way. And I thought this was going to be a great fit for that. But I also wanted the capability of taking the pistol and moving it to various locations. So I also bought the 6004-17, which is a receiver plate. Let me show you that, which is this piece right here. And this piece, the receiver plate, easily mounts to their thigh rig. And their thigh rig, set this aside, their thigh rig comes with two thigh straps that use the clippable style locking. It's elastic, and it's also coated in some sections with this like anti-stick material. It's really has a lot of grip to it when you press against it, whether you're sweaty or you've got fabric. And they offer two of those. One band is low, one band is high. They also have some retention straps because of course these are adjustable. So they offer two of these. They offer this clip, which essentially goes up and around your belt loop. I switched that out eventually for a quick disconnect, but I'll get into that in a second too. So they offer two of these with the 6355 ALS default model, and then they offer the holster itself, which then comes mounted to the thigh plate. What I've done to make this portable as part of their system, one of their selling features, is I've bought the 6004-17-56, in this case, receiver plate, which is this piece here. I've also purchased a 6004-15. I'll see if I can't put that in the annotation. And that's actually their locking fork. So 6004-15-56 locking fork. And let me show you how that works. So if I take the locking fork that's not mounted to any holster shell, and I go to put it in here, I want to show everyone how that works too. So what happens here is this is the fork where you see these two holes is where items are actually mounted to this fork, and as this depresses inside here, you'll see how that springs in through pressure, and it's self-guided. and eventually when this fully seats, you'll see it, and it'll lock in, and that prevents this fork from moving anywhere. Now the nice part about that is after you mount a holster to it, as we've done here with the case, and this is on, this gives you portability. So now I can take this pistol, slide it in here. This won't go anywhere. It also won't go anywhere because of the way that the holster is designed. And now I have a variety of mounting options. The reason I was looking for all this was that it gave me the ability, whereas if I was in a motorized car with my vest on, and I was in the sitting position, of course, thigh holsters are very difficult to get to in that mounting position while in the seated driving position. So I wanted something where I could walk around, use it as a thigh holster, but then when I had to go into vehicle carry, I could either take these forks with another mounting plate, lock that into my vehicle in various configurations, can mount it to the chest at an angle or whatever with one of the plates as well. And that's what I was looking for from this system. Now, it worked for most purposes until, in this particular case, and I'll show this, with this holster down here, it's pretty low. Where I typically carry is up high on the hip. So from a consistency standpoint, I'm used to grabbing and looking here, but in order to clear the vest, I had to lower it. Well, this is so low that it's basically like Han Solo from Star Wars. I mean, this stuff's floating way down here. And if you actually move, you run, you'll see that this has a lot of movement in here. Now, what I have is I'm running both straps. They're tight to my leg, I've got it tight to my vest, and I just don't like how much this is moving when I move. If you're running, it only takes a few minutes to find out that this is not the best location, because as your leg moves, it's swinging this entire bulk package mounted low on your thigh. You want to get that as close to your ball and socket joint from your hip so it minimizes the movement within that. So originally I said, well, what else can I do? I liked having the ability to move the location of the pistol while remaining in the holster around to different areas, vehicles, my chest, what have you. But I didn't like how low this got. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll change this up and I'll run this as high as I can on my hip, and I'll change my configuration here with my web. So that's exactly what I was attempting to do with this model here, is I dropped this strap. I only ran the single strap, and I ran this as high as I could and still ran a single strap as high up and to the inside seam as you could possibly get with this. The problem was, when I did that, it still wanted to fall away from my hip in this section. It wanted to peel back a little bit, and it didn't provide a secure section to the side of my body. If I would move, it would start to bow out a little bit, and I didn't like this. And you can see here, it's bowing out from the side of my body as it stands, and I just did not like that at all. It wasn't a good secure feel from the holster. And this is a little bit more secure than this one was because I have two anchor points with the two straps down here. However, with this one, when I moved it up, I only had one, and then I had to cover a 6-inch section where this was coming out. Now, it's worth mentioning that when you buy these holsters, these 6355 holsters, they do not come with a good way to attach it to a MOLLE system. So I did spend some money, and I bought the attachment here that allows it to essentially has a locking plate that's screwed into it. So now this is still a quick disconnect here on the side, but it allows it to be much quicker to take on and off if you don't want to run the thigh holster and you're not running a pistol. You can remove that from your overall gear. And I was looking for something that was very modular, so this was a good buy initially. So I went from the original stuff with the mounting plate and a receiver plate, locking forks, pistol. I didn't like it low. When I tried to move it up, I had this, and I was looking online, and the other thing that somebody said was, well, why don't you just add it to a belt loop and only drop it just far enough to clear your vest section? And so I started looking around, and then I purchased the 567BL, which stands for belt loop, 567BL-1-2-150. So Safariland makes a variety of belt loop adapters which fit their holsters. So if I show this holster here, this plate with the different mounting configurations can mount in a couple different ways here and essentially provide like a paddled belt. Now what I was going to do was to take that receiver plate, show that here, I was going to take this receiver plate, mount it to the belt loop, and then that receiver plate belt loop combo. So think about this, instead of being mounted to this platform, mounted to this. And I was going to take that combination, put those together and move them over here. When I did, it did not allow me to clear all the stuff that I had around my vest at the time. So instead, I said, well, what are my other options? This was much more secure, much more stable. It was much more consistent from where I'm used to drawing the pistol, but it did not have the right clearance for the vest. So then I found that they make another belt loop, and that model is actually the 6075 UBL, or Universal Belt Loop. It drops it. It's a 1.5 inch drop. And now I can run a pretty wide belt through this loop. It's got a mounting plate put to it, and what I found is I can take one of those straps off of the actual thigh holster itself and run that between the mounting system in the back. So normally this receiver plate has 1, 2, 3 places that I've mounted on this particular holster right here. 1, 2, and 3. And then in between the top 2 and the bottom one, I've ran a single strap, and I saw this from a guy online. I'll see if I can't find the article and include it in the video here for your reference to give original credit where it's due. But this was the most secure way for me to be able to maintain a consistent grab of my holster where I normally am used to getting the purchase, but drop it out of the way of my vest. So in a nutshell, I'm essentially using the case, the cover, as part of the thigh holster system, but I'm not actually going to be using the plate or these straps that came with it. I'm simply using the 1.5 inch drop holster with the holster itself, the receiver plate, the mounting forks, dropping in here and running this high up on my thigh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this out of the video. I'm going to change this, I'm going to drop this off, I'm going to put this on, and you'll be able to see how it changes the ride height position of where my pistol is with respect to getting it out of the way of my vest. Okay, so what I've done is I've mounted the 1.5 inch drop holster to my belt here. Ignore the fact that I'm wearing jeans. I'm trying to do this to show some contrast so that you guys can see these different parts, although the low lighting is probably going to be difficult on camera. But essentially I've got the mounting plate here with the 1.5 inch drop. I'm running that single strap through the Y. I've got it mounted high up on the inner seam region here so that it stabilizes as close to that ball and socket joint on my hip as possible. I'm running it here. It's not quite as low as the 6355 thigh holster will put it at. So I've got that up a little bit, and it still allows me to clear anything here that's on the side or as I'm bringing my elbow and stuff down if I'm running a carbine, what have you. So this is a little bit better for me. I like it. It brings it up high. It's definitely much more solid. I feel that it's connected to my body. If I'm moving, running, tumbling around, it's much, much more solid in this position. And I've preferred this setup. So I've had to go through that progression to figure out exactly what works well for me. And I'll, like I said, look in the bottom part of the video. You will see, I'll call out all the different part numbers that I purchased and kind of what they are, and I'll see if I can't link to the different sections. I probably skipped over some important pieces, but as I've been on a good thigh holster that is then movable, in this particular case, just pushing the locking forks here, and then they withdraw from here. Now I've got this mounting plate here, which is much more solid, and I can even remove the vest now, and I'll do that because it probably looks silly for me to be wearing this thing with civilian clothes here on. So I just have this thigh holster essentially now is here, which is a little bit lower than it would be on your hip, but it clears out of the way of all the stuff that I would normally have here if you're running a lot of other stuff in the way, and especially your elbow, pardon me. If you're coming through here, it clears it as well. You don't have to worry about banging your elbow into something. So it puts it more where I'm used to grabbing here for concealed carry or what have you. Now it's just a slightly different, and your hands are going to be up if you're startled anyways, so you don't want to have to be reaching way down low on your thigh. So this is, once again, the Safariland 6355 ALS Tactical Thigh Holster. I'll give you guys a nice close view of this whole thing. This is particularly in a 1911. You'll see here. This is unloaded, by the way. I'll show you that at the end of the video. Once again, for all those guys out there that are going to throw a hissy fit. And I've got the locking fork mounted to the holster itself. I've got the button here on the side where, when depressed, when you pull this down, I'm right-handed, so I got to get on the correct side of the camera here. So when I push this down, you can see where it sweeps. Push this down, it withdraws it. If not, does not come out. Pushes this down, withdraws it. This is unloaded. Oh, pardon me. You guys probably can't see that, but it is unloaded. No magazine in there. So this, you've got the locking plate here, like we've talked about. Receiver plate, pardon me. I can keep using the wrong terms. Receiver plate and the locking fork that goes inside. And these you can mount anywhere. Like I said, you take this off of this thigh rig. It can be mounted in vehicles, can be mounted in discrete locations within your home, and then you can have essentially one holster, and these are only a few dollars, and you can mount these all over the place, and then use one setup like this to then move all the way around and have all these various mounting configurations. You get one of these and a bunch of these, and then you have a lot of flexibility. So I hope that helps a lot of people out there on YouTube decide what they're looking for when it comes to the ALS system made by Safariland. It's been the best hard case holster that I've found from a flexibility that keeps my finger away from the trigger as part of the Serpa design that I didn't really care for. So hopefully you got something out of this video. I know I talked a lot. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I'll try to get to them. Thanks for watching. Be safe.